I have another unit that was shipped in, this time from Ontario, I think this one came from, in a small box. Camcorder size box. So we're going to see what we've got in the mail today and see if we can pull a rabbit out of our hat, do a Hail Mary pass, and get another one fixed. This one should be an interesting one, and you might learn something. Let's check it out. What do we have here? We have a, looks like it's a camera, and it says tape mechanism is stuck. Let's just see what we got shipped in to work on. Well, it says Sony. It says Sony. Which model is this one? This is a CCDTRV118 Hi8 camera. And the tape is stuck. This one looks like it's got many miles on it. It looks like it's been through a war zone. But let's put that away first of all, so I don't lose the strap. Okay, first things first, let's power the unit up and just see what it does. What messages, if any, do we get? Okay, nothing's working. None of the buttons are working. How about if I try to open the tape up? Okay, so the latch isn't working for one. That's part of the problem right there. You see the latch is not latching the tape compartment down. So this one's going to have to come apart. I'll just unplug the power. And we'll take this apart and see what's going on with the mechanism on this unit. I say I'm going to fix it, but you know, you never know, right? You try. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. It really all depends on what has happened to the unit itself. But I've got pretty good luck with these mechanisms over the years. I'm going to let the cat out of the bag early. This one's pretty ugly inside. So, first things first, remove the arrow marked screws. Getting a bit of a break from DAT machines right now, even though I know that there's at least 2 more that I've got to work on in the not too distant future. I also know that DAT machines don't draw a lot of views, so I don't make any money doing videos on repairing DAT machines, that's for sure. And I fully expect that because they weren't a real popular format with consumers. So there's not a lot of people that are looking to repair them. But camcorders, on the other hand, lots of people got the old camcorders because they've got, you know, they got old tapes and so forth. So the camcorder videos tend to draw a bit more views than, say, digital tape decks. Okay, this should pop off. I think I got all the screws out. Do I have them all? I think I got them all out here. This top cover comes off. One more screw. Front nose cone should pop off on this one. I think I got them all. All the screws are there, out, and this should just lift off like that. And then unplug. Of course, the plug came out on the other side as well. And then the side of the camera should pop off as well, just like that. And we'll unplug the viewfinder and the control cable. And I got to remove the hand strap because it feeds through this clip that doesn't come off. Alright, now I got the chassis open now. I just want to see why this latch is not latching. Is it broken? It might be bent. Like, there's a latch that latches shut, and it's not. It's down here. You got to inspect that and see why it's not locking. It might be bent. I can see that there are two parts missing right now. Just by looking at this, there are two pieces missing. There's a white plastic piece which normally sits right inside here, and there's a spring that attaches, goes across here, that pulls this latch back. Right, pulls it back. There's a spring that attaches right there to pull that back, but the plastic is missing, and I'll show you the piece because I just so happen that I have an identical mechanism here. This is a DCR-TRV118, but you'll see the piece that I'm talking about that's missing. It's that piece right there. That plastic piece is missing. That's what holds the door shut, and the spring that is missing is right there. You can see that spring. That spring is missing, and that piece of the chassis, that plastic piece that fits in right down here, is missing. If we power this camera up so that I can eject the cassette compartment, it might make it a little bit easier to see. If it'll power up with it apart, it should. Okay, so now if we look, you'll see the piece that's missing. The piece that's missing goes right there, fits in right into that hole, and there's the spring that's missing. Putting the spring on won't do anything because it needs something to latch into. The latch is right there, and the latch is not damaged. It doesn't look like it's damaged, but the plastic that it locks into is, and the chassis is loose too. So I got to pull the battery compartment off first, and the viewfinder. Now, if there are more screws in here, I think this would just slide out just like that. There we go. All right, now I got to disconnect the play button, or the record start stop button in power. I should say disconnect that, and we'll pull these connectors off here because they're going to need to be tightened down anyway, reseated. So we'll take those ones off for now. Just to lift the board out. Okay, this should lift out. Oh, I gotta lift out the camera section on here. There should be a screw or two that holds the camera in, maybe two. Get these ones over here. I think these ones are the ones that hold this camera in on this one. Okay, the board should lift out. There's screws missing. What a surprise. Surprise, surprise. There's screws. Looks like the screws missing. Maybe not. But the chassis is sure loose. Okay, get the board out of the way. See, this should not be loose like that. These are all loose too. Okay. Right, I found a spring that will work. Clip the spring on here, but I still gotta find a base for it. The spring goes on like that. Okay, that holds the clip in place now. Now I just need to find the base. I really, like, I could take it out of my spare camera, but my spare camera is a complete transport, a complete digital 8 transport that works. And I'd rather keep it without having to tear it apart. Like, I'd like to not have to pull parts off of it, just because it's one that I'll be able to use if one of my 240s packs it in. So I just have to find something that will operate as a latch to hold this down. Would have been nice if he had the original part that fell out of it. If he'd sent me the part, I'm sure that the part fell out. Whether he's got it or not, I should actually send him a message and see if he's got the little white plastic piece that fell out. Uh-oh. I spotted a problem. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag just yet. I have another junk camera here, and I think I've got the same part in this one. It might be the same on this one. I just got to get this one open, because this one here is shot. And I don't know if I can open this or not. I don't have a power adapter for it. That's the problem. Might be able to open this with my universal power supply set to like 6 or 7 volts. Let's just see whether I can get this one to open up, because I think the part might be the same in this one. Sad trombone, significant because, well, I'll explain it later. I just wanted to put it in now, and it will be relevant a little bit later on, because I didn't spot this while I was working on it. I don't have a battery for this handy, so I'm trying to power it up and just see whether I can open this up. Which I can. Alright, is this piece down here the same? It might not be, but it might be close enough. That's the piece I'm looking for right there. This is the different chassis. Right, this is a B mechanism, but it is fairly close. And that's the piece I'm looking for. Whether it's going to fit on this one, that is the $64,000 question. Okay, I was able to get the latch and the little bearing that is missing on this one that fits down over this little post there. The little black bearing. That's why this has got so much play, you see. There's a little bearing that fits in there. And I wonder if I can get that in that position without... I probably should take the basket out to do that. Might make it a little bit easier. So we'll remove the basket. So I'll just take out these screws. And then this should lift off like that. Okay, now that I've got that open, I should be able to lift the basket right out of this. Oh, I got to take out the damper. But I might be able to pop this in without taking out the damper. I got to try to put this little plastic piece back in here. The little bearing, or this, yeah, I guess it's a bearing. It's a slide. It sits on this little post. Goes on there, like that. And we'll see if this piece will slide in here. I don't know if it's exactly the same or not. I'm hoping it's the same piece. It goes in like this. If it fits in there, great. Let's just see whether it fits. Fingers crossed it's the same part. Sony were good at using similar parts throughout their entire production. So ooh, that might hold it. Holy crap, that might do it. Let's just put this back plate back on again. Get the mechanism back into position. Tip this up like this. Wind it in like that. This might work. the screws in. Okay, is this going to latch this down? It's gonna, holy crap. Is it going to activate the little switch? That's the thing. Okay, I'll pop this up and this should lift up. And it does. Okay, there's a little switch in there. Does it activate the switch? Ooh, it does. It does activate the little switch. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm showing there because my light's in the way, but there's a little micro switch down here that latch presses, and if I release it, if I pop it up, over here. Okay, you see this? You see the catch, the latch. It rides down, and there's a little black switch. If the camera would focus on it, you'd see it. See a little black switch down there? And that looks like it's going to latch. It's going to move that. Oh. Is it going to catch on something else? It almost looks like it's catching on something, doesn't it? It might work. I guess we'll find out when I get it together. Is it going to work? I may have to just adjust the catch a bit. I don't see the damage from my angle right now that you see on camera. This foot looks to be a bit bent on here. Down here. See the bottom of that foot? It looks to be a little bit bent. I don't think it's supposed to stick forward like that. I think it's twisted in this way a bit. All right, let's try this. Gonna try a cassette in there and just see how it loads a cassette. That looks like it's holding that cassette in there okay, doesn't it? Let's reassemble this unit and just see whether it is going to work. That would be something else. That's just a fluke that part was close enough. It's not exact, but it's close and it fits. So we may be in luck. So we'll slide the chassis back in. Gotta like these ones, they just slip together. This was the modular chassis that Sony had. That they used the same chassis for all the different 8mm cameras of this line, and they just had different chipsets on them, different boards, and different head drums for the Digital 8 versus the Hi8 versions. But everything else was the same. Chassis, you just could swap the chassis. So chassis just drops in like that. Gotta get the screws lined up. Get all my connectors out of the way. And then I can start putting screws back in. Now the board goes back in place. This is the loading motor plug, that wire. No one will be more impressed than me if this works. I took a part from a totally different scrap camera that was very, very close in size to the original, and plugged it in, and well, it seems to fit. So if it works, it'll be a first. But that just gives you an idea how close Sony kept the chassis throughout the years. I mean, why mess with something that works? They turned it upside down. This is one of the chassis that feeds in from the bottom, and the other one was a chassis that fed in from the top. But other than that, the other one was a B mechanism. Other than that, they are very, very similar. And say those parts were almost identical. I mean, there was slight differences between it. Other than that, it fit perfect. Snapped into place, locks into place tight, so it's not going to fall out. At least it shouldn't. And if it can make this thing run for a little while longer, then that's basically all we can ask. Is if we can make this camera run for a little bit longer so that someone can get their tapes transferred over. And hopefully just use it for that. Someone's going to pipe in there saying, oh, I like recording on 8mm because the picture is so good. Everybody says that. I always get someone who will chime in and say, I like the picture better. The picture looks more warm. It's a warmer picture. A warm picture, you mean as in a soft and noisy picture? Is that how you describe a warm picture? I remember going way back to the late 1960s, my grandmother had a Philips K6 color television all tube, and everybody used to say how great the picture was on it, how the picture looked so realistic. It was such a great picture. She never wanted to give that set up. She had a Zenith TV as well, and of course she liked the picture off this all tube television, saying it looked more lifelike. It looked softer, that's for sure. It didn't have the detail, and probably TV could maybe do 200 lines of definition at the best. It wasn't a great picture, but they loved it because it had that look. Okay, what am I missing here? I should be able to power this thing up, and this thing should load the mechanism in if things are working like they should, and we'll see what happens. I think I got enough screws in for power. Oh, is it not going to eject the tape? Am I getting too excited too soon? That should be loading, and it's not. This camera is shot, unfortunately. I didn't see this before. I should have looked closer. Maybe if I pop this out, you can see it. When the spring was missing and that latch was just flopping around in the breeze there, and it was someone closed it down, they damaged the ribbon cable. I'll show you if I pop this out of the way so that we can see it a little easier. If we look down, can I see it if I pop that out of the way? Yeah, we should be able to see it right down. I'll show you if we can get a close-up. Maybe you can see it on camera. Get my light in there so you can see the damage. My flashlight might work better. Can we see the damage right down there? I'll point it out. You can see a rip in it. See the rip in the ribbon cable? Right down. Cutting my finger on this thing, it's sharp. Right down there. You can see where it's torn. See right down there? So what happened is when that spring was flopping around here, when there was no spring, when the latch here was moving back and forth, right, you see the latch down there, when that was free, normally it's held in place and it rides down on the track that was missing. When the spring was missing, I can take the spring off here, so now this is floating free, you see. When that was floating free like that, and this was closed down, what happened is that foot, the latch, went right down and it went right into. That's why it started closing, right? That's why the mechanism would close, because that was making the connection that simulated the switch activating. That's why the mechanism went down initially. If I close this down with that latch, it probably will drag it down if it's in the right position. It'll touch and signal that the the cassette is closed. Anyway, unfortunately, you can see it now. It's pretty evident where it got damaged with that spring missing. You'll see the lever here, right? Normally this is held back like that by the spring, but with the spring missing, it went down when it was closed and it was in that position. That went down and it hit and damaged the ribbon cable right there where I'm pointing it with my screwdriver. Get more light in there so you can see the damage. You can see where it's torn. Right there. And that's what passes the signals for the take up and supply rotation sensors and the little switch right here. So this chassis would need to be replaced. And well, I've got a chassis from the Digital 8, but I'm not about to part that part out, because it's, for myself, it's too valuable to keep as a replacement for the two cameras that I've got that use it. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say this one's not going to be repairable. This whole chassis would have to be replaced, and that would mean finding it off another scrap camera. So unfortunately, this one here is beyond repair. It's not even worth keeping it as parts. I don't know that that is the same or not for that other Digital 8, because it's an analog camera that's digitized, right? So the CCD on this might be the same one as from the 250 that I have that's got no picture. That part might be the same, but we're not going to try it and find out. Oh well, we tried, but this one is beyond repair. Thanks for watching.